because we just fill it. That's fine. Yeah, the stuff I don't mind, and they'll make some stuff very, because it's very small. The main thing is, I know yesterday, John was asking me about the hot ones, and I said, we do have extra per se. And I said, we were talking about that, I said, matter of fact, I asked Becky, and he said, but I said, you know, it's not just about, because I was telling him, I was explaining to him, that, you know, we're going to be part-time. Yeah, but that's, yeah, and that's not this time of year.
No.
But yeah, so we've got a little to play with.
And then on the court security and technology, Liz, you need the amount that goes toward each one.
That's right. Yeah.
The drainage fund, $5 for residential within 3 minutes and $10 for commercial, but that's used strictly used for phase projects, right?
And
The last time we sold back in 2012, that check, wouldn't been that long.
it should be longer than that, but we must have used some for something else because it was written for a
It was for a driveway, filled with drainage.
Okay. Well, the drainage though, when they originally did this, they want to know it's on it's for a bond, it's for drainage.
Hey, sir.
Now, how you doing?
All right, how are you?
Doing good.
And then, so that's why I do is to pay for that. That may be something, we say something, we just bring that up at a meeting. Just want to pay it.
Okay.
Live stream is on, sir.
Do what?
Live stream is on.
Thank you,
How are
ma'am.
you?
You got time for a meeting in the morning?
And if you want tea, there's iced tea,
Oh, thank you.
there's chicken salad, there's fruit.
Beer?
No, but here, have some of this, it's like 80 proof.
Yeah.
It smells like alcohol. Cheap alcohol, but it smells like alcohol. But anyway, I thought, well, between here and now and the next meeting, you know, y'all may get a little
I have
snack.
a 9 o'clock, so in the morning, yeah, I have a 9.
You have time or you
I
say
do,
you
but I
have a
have a
meeting?
9 o'clock meeting at 9 tomorrow, so anytime before that or after 10.
Do you have a bathroom bill? Okay.
10 o'clock?
Sure.
You're gonna send me an invite or you just gonna write it down?
We did the old fashioned way, say, come on in.
Yeah.
I'm joking, I gotta give you some.
Yeah, I have a, I'll tell you what, I have another virtual meeting tomorrow. How about the afternoon?
I'll get a cup.
I have a
Out of
2 o'clock. I have a 2 o'clock and 1 o'clock, so really need to be before 2 or after 3.
Let's make it at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
I have to talk about that. Oh, I forgot to tell them. Okay, we have pictures today
Pictures for what?
from here up for the website.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I forgot to even mention that to y'all. That was another.
You ready for us now?
I guess so. She said she's got a backdrop if you want to go do it now.
Well, considering they lost mine the last year.
And you know, no offense, but if you want to take your mask off, so we'll know who you really are.
No, I think we ought to leave them on.
Well, you can do both. You know, we can switch them out if there's an issue. You know, we like put you up that way, and that way they won't know who you really are.
Yeah.
I knew there was something I was going to sit out with y'all Friday night besides everything else. And that was one of it. But y'all always look nice, so see, it's all good. Yeah.
So what you got there?
There.
Everybody's on top. College.
rewind, do a quick snapshot. Well, that's interesting, okay. I guess I'll go that way. There you guys, the last one? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, the wheels? Yes. Oh, that's like it.
I'm sorry? I hope so. I hope so. The clock sure screws me up at the ranch, but, oh, like an hour? Well, you gotta talk to the guy in charge though, that's running the show, but 5 o'clock, an hour would be plenty for me. We kinda drug it out the other day. I said that, did the guy come out and was he at home while you were?
And I kind of sat there for a while,
Yeah, he's driving a red Jeep.
Oh, then he went there. But we went out there, we leveled it.
So tell him to look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's gonna mow it, maintain it for us, I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, he said he always has, I don't know.
You can tell where you call.
You really?
Where the gas tire.
Yeah.
We cut to a certain point. So.
I may see him this evening depending on how late we are with the meeting.
Okay. Yeah.
Y'all still talking about
Checking everything out. Sweet. Popcorn, skinny popcorn.
Man, look at all those greens.
Oh, wow.
He said skinny popcorn.
Skinny popcorn.
Really?
They're called candy snacks.
My grandson
They were like a sugar high grape.
Yep.
It's those fancy grapes. I said, if you get some of that hand sanitizer over there, you're gonna have a littering system.
Get down on my knees.
Chicken salad and,
No.
all kinds of stuff. I don't know how to work that.
Well, I finally had lunch. I had my Castroville Cafe landmark sandwich.
Ah, delicious.
Hey, how are you?
I was on a virtual phone call there, like original
Right.
ghost tube steak. Hot dogs.
Everybody feel COVID-free around here?
So far,
So far, so good?
yes, sir.
Does it work?
It won't work. You've got 2 minutes. I should have mentioned it didn't happen.
I'll click this in.
I guess I'm over this one. Yeah, trying to do it quicker.
Live stream's already on, so.
All right.
I'll just hide that so you can-
Yes, sir.
So I said that publicly, did I?
Just because I have food doesn't mean we have to talk a long time.
Who are you addressing that to?
Why? Just,
Everybody,
I don't know, we'll look at the time eventually. We don't want to have midnight snacks, that's all I ask.
No midnight snacks.
I'm 100% for that too.
Yes,
No midnight snack.
All right, we ready?
I think so.
All right. So let's call the meeting to order, the specially called meeting at 3 p.m. of the specially called meeting
It's a special call meeting for a budget.
for budget, right? 3:01 p.m.
Thank you.
Okay, roll call, everybody's here. Citizens' comments, do we have anybody on the line?
I see no one.
Okay.
Don't you want to do the pledge of allegiance and invocation?
I think that comes on the council meeting.
Pardon?
There, it's not on the agenda.
Right there.
On the what?
What's that?
At 5 o'clock?
No, there's two of them. There's two of them.
Look at the start time on that one.
Yeah, that's 5 p.m.
That's
Oh, that's
the,
5 p.m., I'm sorry.
Right.
Oh, that's
two
also a
different
special
agendas.
call meeting. I apologize, Gary, I apologize.
we can't wait till 5.
Okay, so then let's move on to agenda item number 6, presentation on the FY 2021 General Fund and Special Revenues Fund. You're right.
Yes, so thank you all so much for the time and opportunity to present the budget. I know last week we kind of fell short on time, so before I start, I just want to preface that, you know, we're still working on revenue projections, so all the budgets that have been presented up to date are strictly proposals, are, I guess, estimations, and so just because they're asking for, you know, A, B, and C, that's going to happen, once we find out and once we finalize our revenue projection, we'll go back and see what is going to be available to do those certain projects for every department. So I know everyone that's been presenting is wanting just a little bit more in their budgets, and I'm going to do the same thing in a few minutes. But just want to preface that as we're finalizing revenue, that's going to dictate what we have, what we can spend for future projects and so forth. So I just wanted to let y'all know that. So if you may, I'm going to go ahead and get started. The first one's going to be the city administrator budget. Just a quick overview, the city administrator office is the primary point of contact between the city's department and the city council. The function of the city administrator is to lead, guide, and provide coordination to the departments as they implement the city policies and to advise the city council on policy decisions. The city administrator communicates the city's vision and mission to all employees and provides leadership in the administration of the city's programs and services. Just a little bit what happens, or I guess the function or role of the city administrator. I'm going to go straight into budget. So the first part is personnel, salaries. As you can see that there's an increase in salary from our current budget to the proposed. And so this is just a placeholder because I know we're in the process of going out and searching for a city administrator. And so I'm not sure what amount y'all wanted it to be placed in there. As of right now, I put in $150,000. Of course, this is just a placeholder. So if y'all feel like, no, you want to leave it there, you want less, you want more, this is the time to kind of talk about it and decide what we want to do with that. Along that, of course, comes the increase in benefits. And these benefits are going to be the same benefits as every other city employee gets. The only difference is would be the car allowance. You know, we're proposing from $2,400 a year up to, going up to $4,800, which is $400 a month. Same phone allowance, nothing changes there. So you're going to see an increase there on the salaries for that part there. So again, this is just a placeholder. Doesn't mean that that's what's going to take place, but I need to put in some dollar amount in there to kind of have that. So do you have any questions on that? Nope. Okay. The next one is the supplies. I'm not really going to go much into detail with that. Basically, they pretty much stay the same for the most part. Purchase services, the only thing that's different in that are the AED defibrillators. I think whenever Chief presented his budget, he put a couple for his department, for his vehicles, but I went out and get one for every department in the city. I think it's important that we have that, first of all. Right now, Pull Park is the only one who actually has them. And so Cintas is one of our vendors that we use. It's about $1,200 a year for the AED defibrillators. They're rentals. They're brand new defibrillators. They'll come out and train the employees on how to use them. They'll do the maintenance and care on it. So budgeting about $6,000 for that. It's about 5 departments that will be allocating for that purchase, or for that contracted services are in there, so. Again, we don't have those, so we definitely do need them now, so.
And that's under office supplies?
Under purchase services, under where it says AED
A
defibrillators.
little further down.
The very last one on the page.
Oh, I understand, okay.
Yeah. That's the only increase there on that piece.
How many AEDs is that?
5.
5?
Yes, sir. And that includes airport, includes public works, library, our office, and I believe Steinbach House also. So, and then of course, parking people already have theirs. The next one under contracted services. So remember when Brianna talked about the city engineer part, that the majority of the budget was, or amount was allocated here under city admin. So we moved away about $40,000 of that into the community development. So it decreased this budget, but it increased her budget overall. So I reduced that down to about, it was $40,000 if I'm not mistaken. So the new budget proposal would be $15,000. The second one, or that last one under contracted services, that's increased there. There's a part of it is the fee for SGR. So yes, we've already paid them the fee about a year ago. Deborah, right? A year and a half ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. But this would be for him or her to come out and actually meet with council to discuss, whatever needs to be discussed. But they're going to charge us a fee, and so I'm not sure if they'll come out once, twice, 3 times. So I just make sure that we had enough in there in that line item to go ahead and pay for their service. Deborah, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, and also I think in that same one is if we have candidates that come in from out of town,
That was it. too.
we would pay, of course, their lodging, their meals.
Room and board.
It may be mileage, or it could be, if it's out of state. But I think we included that in there too. I think they are going to try to, I made contact with our facilitator, Larry Bell. He's out of West Texas in Abilene. And he said that they were doing a lot of the meetings, online. But he said that he'd be happy to either do it online and meet up with y'all and kind of get some ideas for it. So this is just the beginning.
I think it's good to put it in the budget, but then also look
Exactly,
at.
because we didn't have it in there before, and so
Right.
you have to find it for miscellaneous or some such a thing as that.
For sure. And I think it's really important to make sure that if we do have anybody coming from out of town, they can come in and get a lay of the land, see what they're working with.
Sure.
And it's really, that is pretty much impossible to do remotely.
Correct.
So I think
Unless
we
we
get
have
it
one
down
of
to
those
that
go
point.
cans. I don't think that would work.
Did we pay them initially for that?
The first initial was all the advertising, the brochure. I think I sent y'all out the current one. If you want to tweak it, that's what we're going to start with there. And that way they get it out, the advertising, and of course they advertise all over the United States. The difference was we paid separately when Mr. Turner came down. This is no change from that. When he came in and did the interviews with y'all and spoke with you in executive session, that was paid separately. So, and that's the only difference in this.
Gotcha.
Instead of him coming here for several meetings, meeting with us, and I agree with Darren, I think the candidate, we need to see your.
Right,
for
he
him
will,
coordinating, He can do that virtual.
right, and then also, for the candidacy, when that comes in, when we get to that point, I do remember the one meeting that was a main meeting was when he came in, Mr. Turner, before he retired, and the council went through their choices and decided how many they wanted to have come back. And then he facilitated it and started in with that. But otherwise, probably more than likely, a lot of it will be online. And then I don't know if he'll bill us for his time. I'm not sure on that. But there won't be travel, of course,
Right.
until it comes to the point where when you come in, maybe for the face-to-face. So.
The next increase under technology is for.
Actually, can we go back just
Sure.
really quickly? So I had a question on the city engineer. So you moved,
40,000 of it to community development.
we moved 25,000 to community development, right? Because it was 40,000 before?
Was it 25?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So there's
No.
15,000. So what's the difference between what was moved to community development and what stays?
Underneath here.
I think prior, hold on, let me put something right there. So we had 40,000 allocated originally to this current, but, well, right there, $40,000. And so we moved whatever the difference was and kept it at 15. So that difference went over to Brianna, but she added a little bit more to that line item on top of that.
Right.
And so-
Sorry, I didn't ask the question right. So the additional 15,000, so what is that 15,000 used for versus what is allocated out of community?
So if the
development?
city ever needs city engineer, I don't know, request, or they have certain projects that come up that's not part of community development, we would handle that here at our level.
Non-development consultation.
Yep.
All right, that makes sense.
Yep.
Perfect, thanks.
Okay.
And does Public Works
Public Works has their own budget for city engineer.
as well as the streets?
Correct. Yep.
And all those combined, you have a number for that total combined?
Not with me, I don't. I can get that for you.
Okay, if you don't mind.
I think it's really good to have for any of them, include, we talked about with IT having an all-up budget for
Yeah.
anything that we're outsourcing.
Yeah.
So for IT all up, for engineering all up, what else are we
The
missing?
attorney,
City attorney all up.
Those that actually, I guess, get split coded to different departments, we can
Right.
get that.
Well, and it's
So
good
we
to
know
look at it
it's-
both ways.
yeah, So we know what the totals are.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Nothing for education and training, that all stay the same. For technology, I did allocate about $1,200 for a computer, only because there were some switch-arounds that happened when former Mayor St. Louis was here. She took that computer that was in the city admin office into her office. Then I moved my finance computer into the new city admin office. So right now, we're a computer short. So eventually what's going to happen is that I'll get my computer back, and then we'll have either one, move that computer that's in that office, in the mayor's office, back to city administrator, or we get a brand new computer for the city administrator, and that's why I have that allocated there. So,
That's a good price for a computer.
the last thing is under miscellaneous. You know, we got the miscellaneous expense. This is where we're going to actually had, I know part of the previous contract for the city administrator was some moving expenses. So if this person is coming from out of state, out of town, part of that contract, we were going to pay up to a certain dollar amount for moving expenses. And so right now I have allocated $10,000 in that account. So if we end up using it, it's there. If we don't use it. But I want to make sure that we have enough allocated just in case. So 10,000 belongs to that miscellaneous expense there. So it's pretty much in a nutshell, that's the proposal for the city administrative budget. Do you have any questions?
Yes.
Okay.
In the actual 2019 for, just lost it. It was training and certificates, where's that at? Dues and subscriptions. In 2019, you had 322. Last year, you all looked at almost 4,000, and that's kind of, and then you dropped it back down to 3. Why?
Wait, where are you at?
Okay, I'm sorry, it's your under
Under
supplies, it's the
supplies.
second one under
Supplies.
supplies. What happened between 2019 and that you would raise that so high in 2020?
Well, remember in 19, this position was still vacant, so that whatever dues are due for the city admin, there are certain dues that, like to become a member of the Texas City Administrators dues for one thing, and there's other dues that they can be part of. And so at that time, 19, really nothing was used until this year for 20. And so I kept it, or I actually reduced it down to 3,000, because one of the most important ones is to belong to the city admin committee, managers association. So that was the biggie for the most part. And then there's a couple other ones that they can become part of. So I reduced that down. We didn't need the full 3,900, so the 3,000 is certainly more than enough for this
So what
coming
you're
year.
using this year, you think it'll be close to 3,000 next year?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and kind of the same question in, there's another one that was back in 2019, it was quite low. Training, travel, and per diem.
Again, that really wasn't used during the 19 year. And so there's a couple of conferences. The city admin has their own conference. TML is another one. Just the cost of hotel, travel, whether they're going to drive or fly or whatnot, depends on where it's at. And so I just think, and aside from that, I mean, there's other small trainings that TML puts on up in Austin. And so, again, this current year, pretty much nothing was used because we put a halt on travel for the most part. So hopefully we can pick that back up next year.
So is TML going to forego that seminar, or are they going to do it online?
I haven't, Deborah, have you heard?
TML for what?
In October.
I haven't heard yet. They may still have it. I know one of the things maybe in 19 too, they had the TML
Here in San Antonio.
conference
Yeah.
here, and so
Yeah.
several went, and so
Yeah.
that was probably
That
from
was a
that one.
savings there because we didn't have
And
to
it-
stay anywhere.
Yeah, they
It's,
can't do that today. I mean,
yeah.
those were
More than likely it'll be done
shoulder.
maybe virtual online.
Yeah.
They'll probably still charge, but you're not paying for hotel, you're not paying for.
And I thought this
travel.
year was going to be in Fort Worth. I'm not swearing to that. I
Yeah.
can't remember,
Yeah.
but I have not heard, and they may not have it, because since it's coming up and nothing's really been said about it, they may end up.
Yeah, with them
Okay.
shutting down everything, state fair and what have you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More than likely, I would think it'll be
Everything's
done
in there
online
still.
if any, so. yeah.
And then the last question related to building maintenance, you had 20,000 at this year. Are you using all of that or hardly any of it, or any maintenance going on in the building this year?
Well, I know, depending on, I know we need to I don't know if we'll get to do it this year, but we need to replace the ceiling tiles in the main hallway here, or the main room, because of all the leak. Someday we've got to change out possibly this carpet. It's been a tough one. This is newer in here because we had the major leaks in here, probably about 6-7 years ago. But the main area where it has ruined the carpet up there from this, in this corner, needs to be replaced. And also, if we could, probably throughout that whole area back there, it's the same type. It's an industrial, and Lord, it's tough because there's nothing underneath it.
Need
But
some roof work too?
we did do some.
We did?
Yes, it was up here in the gutters. We did have some pigeons that decided they want to live in there. And of course, that clogs it up, which backs it up.
And
And
that
so
was
we had
this year?
screens put on. Yes,
Yeah.
we had screens put on.
We also had
and,
some work done to our electrical outlet, or.
Outside.
System.
Outside.
Yes, this pole, and then
Yeah,
over
and then,
here,
of
they
course,
rerouted.
The recent AC that went,
Yep.
that just did too. so
Right, of course, that's going to come, I'm
Yeah.
assuming it's coming out, but
Out of this.
if we have any left over, if we can put it over, I got to thinking about that.
We-
We definitely need to redo some of the flooring.
We normally don't use all of it, but it's there in case there, like the leak, we definitely need to replace those tiles. But I think at one point in time, there was more allocated a couple of years ago, and I just kind of dropped that down because we hadn't used it, and so there's no sense of allocating the high dollar amount if we're not going to use it.
We
So-
were being careful,
Yeah.
you know, and usually it's something that happens and breaks, and then we have to fix it. And it's usually the air conditioners for some reason. But if we could figure out some way to.
You'd figure
be
it
able
where
to-
in South Texas or something?
Or we could put tile down. We don't even have to have carpet anymore. Just, we need to replace it before it's.
But all the leak-
Hardwood floors.
The only hardwood floor that I know of right now is, of course, in our break room,
Oh,
which needs to be
really?
refinished. Over there on the far side, we looked at the carpet underneath it, and it's not, we thought maybe it'd be hardwood, but that area was added on plus this one. And it was plywood. I think it's not
Oh.
the original.
That's a bummer.
I'm not sure about up here,
Yeah.
but it would be nice to be able to redo it. It'd be beautiful. But that, we'd have to just see.
Where are we at on the budget for 2020? How much of that 20,000 have we used to this point?
Pardon? Have we used it all?
No.
Okay. Probably with the air conditioning.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, we did.
We've used it all?
Did we replace units on the air conditioning?
We didn't replace the units, there was what was wrong with it?
Out here, they had to do the condenser, I believe it was, because on our side, that day that it went out, he had to replace the condenser.
Then they replaced the electrical box out here.
Yes, we had, out here on the pole, they redid there is breakers out there, and they rewired them. They've been since the 80s, I think.
Mhm.
Came over here on the far side also and renamed them and rerouted them. It doesn't necessarily have the wiring inside, but at least
The outside.
it's up to code on the outside.
Gotcha.
Who do y'all normally call for stuff like that?
We called Larry Shearhart on that one.
Really?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We kind of get the Public Works to handle it, to give a call out. Now, the air conditioner, that was somewhat different, but he did the wiring on this.
Okay.
No further questions for me.
One other thing that we wanted to also look at this year perhaps is looking at your, talking about technology, about upgrading your devices to either a Surface, if this is a Surface tablet, or an iPad. If we're going to do it, this is the time to do it this year, and perhaps not next year, but I know that y'all's iPads they're pretty old, I think, if I'm not mistaken, so
They're antiques.
we want to go ahead and get those upgrades done, but not sure what y'all's preference are, if it's more of a Surface or more of an iPad, so.
You're shaking your head.
Well, I think you look at performance versus price, and that kind of dictates it.
Yeah.
Right now, our
I'm
platform that
flexible.
we use is Microsoft, so that would be a Surface. Not saying that because that's, looking at Derry, but, I mean, we use Microsoft here at the city, which is a Surface tablet. iPad is, obviously, it's not Microsoft, it's something different. So
Well, again, let's look at price
we're getting a
versus
quote
functionality.
from HCS on both,
Yeah.
and then we'll kind of make a determination from there, but just wanted to give y'all that option, so.
But we might be able to do it this year instead of in next year's budget.
Yeah,
as
sure.
we projected.
All right.
Awesome, all right.
On our attorney, city attorney fees, how much of that have we spent this year?
As of today, we spent about almost $38,000.
How much?
38.
38.
And every department, like airport, has its own attorney line item. This was, city council, I think city council has their own too, right? Okay.
I don't know if we still have it in the city council or not. I think we combined it.
But the different departments do have, for the most part, have their own line item for attorney fees.
So at the next meeting, you can give us a sheet that shows for these different attorneys, engineers, like, and then it'll tally through the different
Sure.
departments with.
We could do a year-to-date for that.
I like it.
Any other questions? All right,
Not for me.
I'm going to move on to the next one. Thank you all for that.
Guess I left my phone at home. Either that or left it in the car.
Okay, so the next one is going to be finance, followed by HR, kind of put these together. So, just a quick overview of what the finance department does. The finance department is responsible for providing fiscal control and guidance of all financial transactions of the city while complying with all applicable local, state, and federal regulations. The department accounts for all assets of the city through the following functions: accounting, accounts payable and receivable, capital assets, cash collections, customer service, IT, payroll, and so forth. And the finance department is also responsible for the development of the city's annual financial reports and the annual budget. So that's just a quick overview of what the finance office does. Some of the goals for the finance, we want to provide accurate and timely financial reporting and budgeting. One example would be our audit, our fiscal audit, that we have to have every year, make sure that we're in compliance with that. Develop enhanced and efficient processes for finance functions. And of course, to ensure financial stability, accountability, and transparency for all city funds. So, we currently have, we have a finance director, which is dual role right now. That's myself, doing dual role with this one and for city admin. We got our accounting manager, which is Hilda. She's right here in the back. Accounts payable, which is Beck. We got our customer service representative and utility billing. So these two ladies that are set up in the front, they're part of, they're housed here, but their salaries are paid for out of utility fund. And so they're 100% paid out of their out of utility. So thank you, John, for that.
The bottom two?
So the bottom two, yes, sir. So the first year general fund, that's what we're kind of going over with now. And the last are going to be the enterprise fund or the utility fund. So,
And the top three would be all under the finance?
yes, sir. Yep. This is the current structure. You got the finance director, then under that you got accounting, accounts payable, IT, HR, purchasing, and so forth. And so I won't go over all of them, but that's pretty much the gist of who's under the finance director. So, okay, so if I may, I'm going to go and get started. Sorry, not sure why those are they're not aligned, centered correctly, but apologize for that. Not sure why I did that. So I'm going to go get started. The first one, the first increase, obviously, it's that first line item. It's the regular salaries. That includes those 3 positions that I just mentioned. It also includes a part-time position that may be needed throughout the year. Remember, this current year, we did away with the accountant position and the HR position. We didn't hire them. They're in our salary, our structure for under our pay scale, but there's nothing budgeted there. So we did away with those 2 positions, but we just left them there just in case we had to bring them back. They're already approved by council. But those 2 departments, there aren't any allocations as far as salaries. So for that proposed one, it's the 3 positions I just mentioned, plus possibly a part-timer if needed throughout the year. And that's only if needed. There's certain times throughout the year that we do need some assistance, just because we did away with those 2 positions. But we'll definitely try to not to utilize it, but if needed, I went ahead and allocated some money in that top one there.
When were those removed?
This current budget year.
Okay. And where were those accounted for in this budget?
They were, but in this category, they all fell under the finance office. So it was the HR, well, actually, the HR was under the HR budget, which we'll go over in a few minutes.
Okay.
That was that one person, that one FTE. Then the other one, the actual accountant, was in here, under the finance office. So, you got over, yes, sir.
So that was accounted for in the expense in the 2020 budget.
The position was there, but there was no, we didn't allocate any funds for that
You didn't allocate
position.
any funds.
Correct, we just left the position there just in case.
Okay, got it.
So, the other thing, of course, is along with that comes the increase in benefits, and that's all pretty much stayed the same for the most part. It was that 3% salary increase, and then, of course, the increase in benefits. So nothing else changed besides those 2 there. Under supplies and materials, if you go down to versus general supplies, that's going to be more for just miscellaneous office supplies. It's kind of like a catch-all. So if any of the departments, I know Deborah's budget takes care of a lot of just miscellaneous things, but so does finance as well. So I kind of increased that line item there to $2,000 from $1,100. And then, of course, I increased the classified advertisements only because we're now going with Hondo, which is a different price structure than we had with the
Animal, or not the bulletin.
correct. And so it's a little bit more, so I make sure that I allocated just about $300 more just in case. But that would be more for any advertising that we have to certainly put out there to the public. And so that was the only increase there on that side.
Going back, I noticed in your city administrative budget, your office supplies went from 2019 to 2020. You went from $1,000 to $6,600, and that's kind of what you kept going into this year.
Right.
And that's also true here, where you're seeing this big increase in office supplies. Is there something that happened between 19 and 20 that your office supplies went up so high? Did you reallocate stuff, or what's going on?
There were some things that we had that were things that were purchased. Again, when I came in 19, there wasn't anyone in that position, so that amount really didn't get used as much. So this current year, the 20 year, we made some purchases as of right now. I'll kind of tell you where we're at. For city administrator, I know to go back to that one, we spent about $4,000 as of today of that $6,000, and those are just supplies. It can range from office supplies for the finance office, or I'm sorry, for the city admin office as an example. It could also be furniture. We did buy some furniture for that office because there was some furniture that was taken out at the time. We bought a couple of filing cabinets and a credenza, so that's where that was taken out of. And then, of course, for the finance office, we bought a couple pieces as well. So, I mean, it varies. So, and then, of course,
So those are hard to cut, so that would be reoccurring.
no, definitely not.
And then your finance, what have you so far this year?
I'll tell you. We've spent about $3,600 as of today.
Okay. And were there big ticket items that you bought this year that you?
I'm trying to think what we've.
The table and chairs.
The table.
It came out of this year's
Oh,
budget,
that's right.
correct?
Yes.
Or is that real expensive? $1,000?
I have no idea.
No, there weren't. We went to. what's that one store? Descalor, and bought them from there and purchased them there. They're good pricing. Some of these are going to be like a one-time expense, like those office furniture. And then, of course, you have your miscellaneous expenses that come out throughout the year that we buy from Office Depot, Walmart.
And
So,
I figured that wouldn't have gone up so much
Right.
between the years. Okay, that answers it.
so. So for contracted services, so of course our audit, wait, that's not right.
I wish it was just $500.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that yearly audit that first line was incorrect. If you look at your actual hard copy that we had given out to y'all on Friday, look at that one. I apologize for that one. I'm not sure where I got 500 from, because I wish it was 500, but it's not. So,
Slightly different.
our part, just like whenever we give you the breakdown from the city attorney and city engineer, we definitely do the audit, because airport pays for part of the audit, so does Public Works, and then we do too. So I'll make sure that I give you that. And again, I do apologize. I'm not sure why I put 500 there. The 20,000 for the contracted services, I'm sorry, 25,000 for contracted services. That's going to be for like for Janet King. They're the ones who actually clean our ones who clean the
City offices.
building. It's for Orkin, our pest control. It's for other just miscellaneous contracted services that we have throughout the year.
And that went up $9,000?
And
Well, and part of that also is,
Sanitizing, maybe? We
The-
have to do that again?
well, we do. So she brought the sanitizing. We did a thorough clean. They came in and did the Steinbach house. They did this building where they came in at night. They did a thorough cleaning of it. And so I know right now, as I mentioned before, yes, these are increases, and there's, I guess, hey, I was making sure that we have enough throughout the year versus, you know what, we have to come back and ask for more money. But when it's all said and done, depending on revenue, we'll have to make sure that we'll come back and cut some of these things down.
so where are you right now?
For contracted services,
Yes. 413.
right now we're already at 21.
Okay.
So let's make sure that we are separating out, and I think we talked about this before, separating out the things that are COVID-related.
We
So the
are.
additional deep cleaning, okay.
Yeah, every time we get an invoice in or we're purchasing something, we'll put COVID off to the side because, we have that entitlement that we're waiting on still from the feds because we were in, it's about $150,000 that that they were going to give us, that they are going to give us. And then for the first part, we're able to draw down the first 20%, which is about almost $30,000. And so right now we're kind of waiting on that end. And so we would have been notified that they are going to give it to us, and it's just a matter of time whenever we get it. And so, but we are coding things. If it's COVID related, it's COVID, because if they ever come back and say, hey, I want proof that you bought it, okay, here you go, it's right here. So, but part of this contracted services, what I just said earlier, that the reason we're already at $21,000 is, I have somebody helping me right now with, helping me with some things with our personnel and finance. You've seen her in my office, Patty Ayers, she's been a big help. And so during this time, and it's busy right now, so I needed some assistance, so I brought her in, and so she's been a big help on that. So that's why we're already at that amount. But for next year, things are going to be a little different, so there shouldn't be, yes, we increased it, but again, it goes back to those miscellaneous contractors not contractors, but contracted services that come in that we have to have what's already there. But again, when it's all said and done, if we need to go back and reduce that, we certainly will. So,
Do we do anything with uniforms with the staff?
not in our department, no, sir.
Not finance?
No, sir. I mean,
And you said we've already spent 21,000?
yeah, but that includes the Janet King, that includes the lady that's helping me. It's not the full amount, but because she just started. That includes.
But I mean, we only budgeted 16,000.
Right. So what we're going to do is, and you'll notice whenever I go over the third quarter.
Budget amendment?
We'll have to come back. I'm going to do the budget amendment, but
Budget
I'm going to
transfer?
wait till we do that toward the end of the year because we have to do one anyway. So I'll bring it back in September to do that final budget amendment. But overall, we're fine. Just that one line item, we're going to have to go back and make sure that we add.
Move
So-
something around?
So, yes, sir. Any other questions on this part here before we move forward? The only other thing, really, everything pretty much either stayed the same or went down. I know that technology, we took that down by $1,000. those bank fees, these are fees that we are charged every month here at the bank, and so finance takes care of those monthly fees. So that's pretty much the finance part in a nutshell. So, any questions before I go on to HR?
But your staffing, technically, since you put money in there for that part-time person, that would be 3.5.
Yes.
And on your finance, you have 3 people this year, next year, but for next year, that should be 3.5, right?
It would be 3.5. Yeah, this is our current structure now, yes, sir. So right now, so for next year, it would be like 3.5, yes.
Right, so that, I guess I'm looking at the bottom of your
Oh.
thing, where you have the number of staff.
Which part?
The very bottom
The bottom line,
of the
totals?
sheet that you gave
Oh,
us?
sorry. Oh, that part, yes. So it would be 3.5, yes, sir. Yep. Okay, I'm going to go on to the HR department. Again, this is, our HR is currently managed by our county manager, which is Hilda. She does a great job at it, so just wanted to tell her thank you for that.
what was the lady's name prior?
Mary Jo
Mary
Vargas.
Jo.
Mary Jo.
Vargas.
There you go.
So the HR department, the mission of the HR department is to provide support to the city's operating departments through the efficient and effective administration of the Human Resources Program. The department supports a comprehensive range of personnel needs, many driven by evolving state and federal legislation. The HR develops and interprets policies, acts as internal consultants on personnel issues, resolves employee concerns, grievances, administers employee benefits, just to name a few. And right now, under personnel, there's none because we don't really have anybody tied to that position. What part of Hilda's job is part of HR, so that's taken care of under the finance. But as I said earlier, there's no allocation there for salaries for that position.
So is the city hurting because we don't have an HR, or it really should be, her time should be split between the two or something? It just seems funny that you don't have any HR position, even though we have the
Well, I
list
mean,
of what the HR person does.
Prior to me getting here, yes, this person, I believe, did HR as well as payroll. But kind of after I got here, we looked at salaries, we looked at personnel costs to see where we can cut back. And we figured, you know what, we can actually absorb that cost, absorb that position into the finance. And we're not that big where we actually need a full-time HR position. I mean, Hilda's doing a great job at it, and there's times that we feel like, where I feel that, you know what, yeah, somebody needs to be there, but for the most part, between she and I, we'll handle it, and she's been doing a good job at it too. So I didn't feel like we need to allocate another $45,000, $50,000 to.
For another person?
Correct.
So you had an HR person that was actually doing finance, also payroll.
They're doing payroll, yes.
And then, so now you just have a finance person that's doing a little bit of HR, so you just swapped it over.
He swapped it, yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
I understand.
Yes. Some of the goals are to continue to represent the city of Castro in a positive manner. We want to maintain a quality health insurance plan for all full-time employees. We want to attract, retain, and reward employees. We want to create a positive corporate culture. And we want to create a nurturing environment where all employees are appreciated. So I think that's important, especially now. Even prior to then, I mean, we would, we had our I think our last get-together was out here, we had a breakfast, a cowboy breakfast, and it was fun. It was right before COVID. We had a good time. We were outside, and we had a good time. And certainly, we missed that. We want to bring that back, but obviously, we can't at the moment. But overall, we have really good staff. Or y'all have really good staff. They work very hard. Each and every one of them do, and they're very appreciative of what they get from the city. So I want to thank y'all for that. So
Well, I think we're really blessed with the staff that we have. The one question that I've got is, so I assume this is you in your position. Who's looking out for things like, and I think the department heads are looking out for comparable salaries. How do we look at things like insurance benefit and other benefits? So I think about retirement and health insurance. How are we in competition with other cities when it comes to this?
as far as the retirement part, Deborah, what do we contribute now?
Well, right now we have TMRS, there is 3 steps, I guess. There's a 5%, 6%, and 7%.
Right.
We're at the low end of that at 5%, but we are the 2-to-1, which is as high as you can go on the match.
Right.
Other cities, that's what we try to accomplish is to go up, especially for people that are getting older. But you know, the 6% is the next step, and then unless you just jump to the 7%, but either way, the employee would match that. And I know on the TMRS, the way they set up the pool,
Yeah.
the city itself, you're matching the 6% or 7%, but our match is not as, it's not the full percentage, so it's not as hard on the budget. And that'd be something you'd have to just get with TMRS. They could tell us what the ratio is.
Okay.
And I think it all depends on, of course, our retirement is awesome. We're guaranteed 5% no matter what. If the market crashes, it's 5%. When I came into it, when I was at my other city, it was 9 or 10%. And so they, you know, the last several years it's been steady because everything's went down so low.
Sure.
But, you know, not many of them, not many retirement plans have that. Now, our insurance, I think we're competitive.
We are.
TMRS is, or TML is our other one, and it's a very good, for the employees, yes. You know, for the families, I think it's going to be high for anybody that has to put someone on their insurance, because it's just,
And not just for
it's cost.
not just for the dependents, but I know this coming year, there was a slight increase. And so the city pays for healthcare, for dental, for vision, for life. And there's, I think
And
that's it.
long-term.
Oh, long-term disability. And so we think about it, that's a nice benefit for all employees, including myself, because you go out there to the public sector, you gotta pay for your own insurance out of pocket. It's not, they're not saying, I'll pay all your insurances. And so this, and it equates to probably almost over $10,000, I bet, just benefits alone per person. So, I mean, kudos to y'all, because that's something that, you know, I'm not sure if other cities do it, but this is great, aside from the salaries that they already get. The benefit part is awesome, so.
I think if we could look at, I think the only one that would be really the difference would be the retirement.
Yeah.
Right now.
Well, I think that's something that we should encourage. I mean, it's great. People like Deborah, you've been here for, a couple of minutes.
Forever.
And I think it's really good to encourage people to stay on and love to get somebody in their final years of working. So I think that would be really good.
Get all you can out of us.
Exactly.
The other thing that we may want to
Squeeze me
look
like
at,
lemon.
as far as to retain
Exactly.
employees is to look at our longevity.
Yep.
We pay it up to what, $500 a year or no?
Yes,
It is, right?
the maximum we can receive, I think, is $500. It's $3 a month. And we had talked about trying to look at seeing to go up a little bit because, you know, you work towards that. I mean, I say it's a good option. But for someone that maxes out on it, you know, you can be here. We had some ladies here that was 30-something years, and that's the max they could get was $500. And I'm not saying you should just keep it going because, Lord, they'd own the place. But, you know, maybe if we
The
could go
school
up.
was the same way too.
If we could go up some,
Yeah.
that would, I think, encourage everyone, and it's a good, you know, benefit. We get it once a year.
But insurance as an employee here, the city insurance is free?
Yes, sir.
For the
The city
employee.
pays on behalf of the employee, only the employee.
Right.
They're responsible for their dependents if they're going to get
Right.
for their family.
Just for the employee?
Correct.
Free insurance?
Yes, and our
Is that
health
a good
insurance
deal?
is in a pool.
Yeah, because the
which
schools
is-
won't do that.
Yeah.
No, the school, I don't know what they pay now, but they used to pay a portion, and the employee had to pick up the difference.
Right, but not the full part.
And it was, I want to say like $225 or $250
Yeah.
a month, but, you know, if you had medical issues, or your family had medical issues, and you had to have employee and family, or employee and spouse, it gets pricey real fast.
Oh.
Well, this is the same way.
Wow.
I don't know that we've had anybody that's got the family on, maybe one, maybe not, but,
Either the spouse or the children.
yeah, children's usually a little cheaper than if you go for both. But I know on our health insurance, it's a pool also, and so our claims, you know, are low. Knock on wood, everybody is healthy. But it also affects, though, if other cities were all in the same pool, if they have a large amount of claims, that sometimes dictates a little bit
Sure.
on what our percentages go up. I know in the last, at least 5 years, we have been next to nothing on going up. When they
Wow.
started jumping, it was like 13, 14, 15%.
Yeah.
We would either stay the same, or we went up at the most 3% maybe. I think last year was the most we've ever went up, so we've been very, very blessed. And we had a few people that had some issues, of course, but still, we've never been up like the regular statistics of the state on going up. So we've been it's good.
So again, no personnel salaries allocated for this coming year. So I'm going to go on to the next one. The increase was under supplies, office supplies. You know, we allocated 500, and we are at currently. Sorry, go look for it. It's right here. Well, it's coming.
I can talk about the 19.
Please, go
I
ahead.
know why it was higher on the
Go ahead.
office supplies. There is a printer, which is now, he's using in the city administrator's office. And that one is, the ink alone is over almost $200 each.
So
And so we're
just-
phasing that one out, and we're gonna sell it in the auction when we bring the stuff back. And that's why we have the new printers and copiers. And the ink, maintenance, everything goes with it.
Yeah.
And so that's why.
Including
19
ink?
was- Yes, everything's included, except this one was purchased by the city administrator at least 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's extremely expensive, so that's why it was so high, I know, in 19. And probably part of here, I'm not sure.
So right now, we've spent about $500 just in that one line for office supplies for HR. So I just bumped that up. We still have a few months left, but again, finance will probably pick up, anything else that's needed, just because we're kind of doing dual role. And then, of course, the dues and subscriptions, there's I can't think of the organization name, but there's dues for HR that I believe Hilda's a part of. So, and then, of course, advertisements, we increased that only because now that we're with Hondo, they're a little more expensive than we were used to paying with here in Castroville. So I increased that by 400, sorry. Everything else, for the most part, stayed the same. If you go to the very end under miscellaneous, we're one thing that employees certainly do are thankful for. We budget money for gift cards for Thanksgiving, and we call it more of an employee appreciation, just to tell them thank you for what you do here. And so we give each employee a gift card during Thanksgiving and at Christmas time for $25 a piece. So it's $50 for both total. And that's something that, when we hand them out, the employees are excited. I mean, it's something small, but hey, they're thankful, so we appreciate that. And so that's why it's under awards and recognitions. So, and then also for during Christmas time, it's an employee appreciation luncheon that we had this past year, and it was fun. We kind of played some games, and they just had a good time. So it's good to kind of, yes, we work hard, but sometimes, let's go off site and just have a nice meal and enjoy and just laugh, and that's what we did. So
That goes a long ways.
it does.
It was a lot of fun.
Oh, Ms. Martinez, you were there, yes. So that's in a nutshell, that's the HR department. This last slide here is just our current personnel. I know the colors are a little hard to see, but we have about 43, 42 full-time employees, and it's broken out by what's full-time, what's part-time, and what's seasonal. And so you got enterprise, which is the utility department, or public works, and you got airport, and the hotel motel is the Steinbach House, which is our part-timer, Betty, over there. So,
Can I back you up a minute?
sure.
Under Human Resources and Contracted Services, you got employee exams and drug screen there. You got a line item there, but there's another line item on the next page under miscellaneous, same thing.
Yeah,
Do we do drug screening?
we do.
For the employees.
At one point in time back in 19, it felt like,
Pre-employment?
yes, and
No
then
random
and then
testing?
random throughout the year.
Really?
Right, don't we do random?
For the gas.
Like they got folks driving equipment and vehicles? Really? What, do you do that every quarter, roughly?
Yes.
Really? How many do you test?
It's a random, we get 3 kids every quarter.
Yeah, but I mean, usually you have an idea about how many they're gonna call.
No.
3, 4? I'll be
And
doing.
if there's any accidents too, you know, they have to.
Twice already.
They ain't caught you yet, have they?
You're a suspicious
So,
character.
so why is there 2 line items there, Leroy?
Okay, so at one point back in 19, it was paid under contracted services.
Yeah.
But that's not really a contracted services. It should be more of a miscellaneous item. So during the 20 budget year, current year,
Yeah.
we moved it to 20 under miscellaneous. And that's why next year when we do this again, we won't see that there because there
You're
was
gonna
no-
take one out?
Yes.
Thank you.
And we also, one other thing that I just remember, we also bought office chairs. Well, we talked about that, but for every person in this building, we had some older chairs that just weren't, I guess, in the best shape. So we bought each employee, or each person in this office a chair. So just FYI. Other than that, that's pretty much the HR department budget. Do you have any questions?
Personnel,
Mm-hmm.
that is what we have now,
Correct.
and what we project next year is pretty much the same thing.
For the most part, I know a couple of departments, police and I think parks at once an additional allocation.
One each,
Correct.
and finance was half.
Half, correct. Yes, sir. But this is our current structure as of right now, kind of where we're at.
And this does not include, so general,
The seasonal part, under general, that's the pool, that's at 15. That's the lifeguards. Those kind of vary throughout the season, anywhere from like 15 to 18, it just depends. And so, I know Devin's trying to cut that down, for next year, so.
And the hotel motel, that's the.
It's just the part-time.
That's Steinbach.
Steinbach.
I've only got one right now. I got Betty.
And then, of course, airport is just David and Issa. And then John is the enterprise that has all the utilities, public works, utilities. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
So what's the total there
I want to say it's 43 full-time employees, if I'm not mistaken,
in the city?
in the city, yes. So. Good. All right, any other questions before I move on to the non-departmental budget?
Not me.
Okay. This one's a really short one, so this one won't take that long.
Excuse me.
Okay, so this one is called the non-departmental budget. This is, it's under the finance department. It's used to record expenditures that cannot be identified elsewhere. So it's like kind of like a miscellaneous, if you want to call it that, but we call it just non-departmental. And so I'm going to go and go over what we do with that. And so the first one is we pay our unemployment insurance. Obviously, we have to pay unemployment every quarter. And so we paid out of the non-departmental budget. And so I just increased that by about $200 for this coming year, only because of those increases that we're going to propose in payroll. And so we ended last year at $1,078. We adopted this current year $1,300. And so I'm not sure, Hilda, where are we at right now, do you know, for unemployment? And then while she looks at that, we're proposing, just because again, of those increases, I increased it by $200 more, so I'm asking for $1,500 there. Under supplies and materials, what this is, it's where we pay the utility expenses for pretty much all of this entire building. That's for all utilities, water, electric, and so forth. So we ended the year at 13,158. We still have about 2-3 months left until this fiscal year is over. One thing that we do want to add on here is under purchase services is the postage rental. And so we have a postage machine that we pay every month for. And so instead of breaking it up by department, we want to pay it all under one account code just to make it easier for accounts payable. And so we're going to go ahead and that's a hard dollar amount now that we know for next year. We're going to pay $29.40 for the year. And so we use this, we'll pay it under non-departmental. And then the last thing would be under copier lease. This is going to be all the copy machines with the exception of I think utilities pays for their own separate one, but these are gonna be all, and airport pays for their own separate one. All the other general fund, all the other departments will be paid out of this, and also what's included in there is a little bit for overages. And so we haven't gone over yet, not to say that we are going to, but this will be the time because of budget, make lots of copies and so forth. So if we do, it will be this time, this season, but normally we always are under that allotted amount that are given to us for each copy machine. So that's pretty much it. That's what we, it's a very small budget, and it's used for we're not sure where else we can put it, so let's put it here. So, do you have any questions? Okay, so this is all, so the only one that we're missing, and we're going to do that right prior to, whenever utility presents, we're going to present the IT budget. Right now, I have HCS helping me with that budget right now, so I'm sorry we couldn't do it today, but we are going to do it in the next couple of weeks with utilities. And after that, we're done with general fund. And so this covers, with the exception of IT, this is pretty much the bulk of all the funds here. So I'm going to go on to the special revenue fund. These are all small. This won't take long. I know we're doing good on time, and some of this I'm going to have Deborah help me with this because these are, I don't have a PowerPoint for these, but I do have what I gave y'all on Friday, or Deborah sent on Friday. So I'm going to go over these now so we can go ahead and move forward. But let me see if I can actually make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. I'm not sure how, so never mind. But you have a copy over here, the plus.
This is in y'all's packets, that he's fixing to show you. It's in the packets.
Okay. So
What
this-
he's showing you is in the packets. It's
So
on
this
hard
first
copy.
one that
Yeah.
we're looking at, this is drainage. And so this is obviously every month, this fund, every utility bill, every person within the city limits pays $5 towards this fee here for drainage for residential and $10 for commercial. And so this is used to complete any drainage expenditures in the future. I think the last time that we ever used this fund was back in 2012, is what we found out today. So right now we have a current balance of, where are we? Of about $341,000 that we currently have in there in the bank right now. But again, we don't use it often, only when we need it. And so every citizen that pays within the city limits pays the $5 for residential and $10 for commercial.
I thought there were some bonds we were still paying off from this fund.
Are we paying out of this fund for some of the bonds? It's out of a separate fund.
We should be.
It's a
I
separate
mean, for
one.
the drainage projects that were done 10 years ago, those were from bonds that were
What-
paid for out of this.
It's a separate fund, right, that we're paying them out of?
Because that's what that
That $5 is for?
The $5,
Okay.
$10, that's what it was to go, was to pay off
Okay.
those funds.
I think it was longer than 10 years. We did a bond for drainage before I came, I think, and that's when they started out with the $5 to help go towards that. Now, we may have had something since then, but
But they were, I know they went for the bond, but were they spending money? I know it's when Bob Hancock was here.
my understanding is it was for this fund. I'm not sure if we've paid it
We'll
off
look to see
yet.
what account we're paying it out of, but there's a balance there, which is, it's,
You got $341,000 in this account? Wow.
Yeah, if you could find out if we paid off that bond, if that bond.
we'll find out for you, and we'll let you know.
I think the last time, and I thought the road up to
Cross Hill?
Cross Hill was paid for out of this fund because it was affecting the drainage. of
It may have been the 2012. I mean, it may have been something from that. I'm not sure.
There was a Wagner project that was back in 2011 that we saw, and then in 2012, there was some by Roberts Construction. It was for some driveway.
That was Cross Hill, I believe, because it's a contract.
That was the last
goes
time we
out.
ever used that fund.
That was 2012.
I'm pretty sure that was used to direct all the water from Cross Hill in my front yard.
Yeah.
You're welcome. You don't have to have
So,
a
aside
sprinkler
from that, I
system.
mean, this is-
pool.
It's a very small, I mean, it's a small budget, and that's why these are, I mean, we'll certainly look to see what we paid, if we paid it off and when, or if not, you know, where is it getting charged to, so.
Yeah, because this, if we have that much money, we have drainage problems in this town that we need to use that money
Sure.
for. I know, over in,
Does it have to
in
be for
River
drainage?
Yes.
It does.
Specifically
Yes.
for
Well,
drainage.
River Bluff, we got
Yeah,
that
Athens
one
Street,
street
we've got over
Oh, yeah.
pond
in
over
Country
there.
Village, we've got a few different ones. Why don't we take a look at that?
Well, I
Let's
think
first see where, if we can take care of where the bond, where that payment's coming out of first, and then if that's paid off, absolutely, I mean, that's what it's there
We
for.
can't ever forget, what's the one that goes to the river, that, to the regional park? Is that
Alsace
Athens?
or Athens. I
Well,
believe they,
the big one.
when they
The
spoke
big
on,
one.
Yeah, the big.
well, when they
grant problem is
spoke on
Athens.
looking at trying to do that project, which is huge, I know they discussed somewhat on this fund. And of course, then, I don't want to start anything, but I mean, I think at the time they were trying to decide too, the council may have to come back and decide if they were going to have to possibly increase it a little bit to people to be able to fund something like that, one that large.
Or you go out for another bond and pay for the bond.
Well, and you would have to go
Yeah,
through
that-
using
that
this,
was, over $1.5 million or something.
at least.
I think that was just
Maybe
for Athens,
more.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So, but they did discuss this fund.
We'll look to see, have that information
What's
for
the
you.
street in River Bluff that the water, it's considered wetlands now?
The street itself.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, because every time it rains, it's like a pond there.
Yeah, it's,
Well, it hadn't rained lately, so.
Do what?
It hadn't rained very much lately,
Don't
so.
rain, it's not a problem.
it only takes a little bit.
This is pretty much it, so can I go ahead and go on?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
I want to
Thank you.
say River Valley, right there where it meets with River Meadow.
I thought this was in the middle of the street. Anyway, go on.
It is.
The next one would be, wait,
That's not
is that page 2? Yeah, I'm
Hotel,
sorry.
hotel.
What was page 1? Oh, that was page 1, sorry. Page 2, there's page 3. Okay, so this is the hotel motel tax fund, and I passed out some information on your chair. It's some good information as far as what we can use these funds for. I know it's kind of been just, I've had some conversation with Joseph at one point about, hey, what can we do? How can we get involved from the hotel in helping, you know, say what we can use the funds for. As an example, the literature that I found, or the resources that I found are really good. I think that's something that we certainly do need to pay attention to because it tells us what we have to do. I know part of this budget pays for the, where are we at? The salary for the Steinbach house for Betty, and so part of it gets paid out of this fund here.
Well, this is Steinbach House.
Yeah, this is
That's
Steinbach
not the-
House. Well, I mean, it's called
the fund.
in our fund. It's called the Alsatian. Oh, I'm sorry, no.
No.
I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah.
You're right. This is hotel motel tax fund. Apologize for that. So, right quick, that salary, as I mentioned earlier, that's a part-time position. At one point, we had a couple of part-timers.
We had three part-timers, which Dorothy passed away, and then Debbie moved. And Betty was left, and she took over some of the hours. Because at that time, one person was working basically 3 days, and the other were 2. And
Who's
she
this
now,
again?
Betty,
Betty?
yes, she's the only person I have left. And so she now has it open, Steinbach House is open Wednesday through Sunday, and Wednesday through Saturday, it's 10 to 4, and then on Sunday, it's 11 to 3.
And she's the only person.
She's the only person, besides Priscilla Garrett that volunteers, and myself sometimes when I go over there.
Oh, wow.
But, and right now, it's down a little bit. We've had more people come in, and at one point, when the poppies bloomed,
Yeah.
I know one weekend they had 1,000 people. It was
Wow.
crazy. People love the poppies. But this covers, right now in this, the salary is still, it's up a little bit, but hopefully, and it may be that springtime comes and everything gets a little more normal, we may look to see if we can find someone that might want to be a part-time,
Help
a
out.
part-time, or a backup. And so that is included in this salary of the 36.
If you look
She
up-
works 26 hours a week is what she does, or 28.
If you look on page 7 of this packet that I gave you, this one here, has some really good information. It talks about how every expenditure must directly enhance and promote tourism and the convention and hotel industry. It talks about what we can do with it. And then if you go to criteria number 2, it actually has 9 categories as far as what we can do with those expenditures. And so this is a good guide to use as we're budgeting for next year. So this is yours to keep, so please, feel free to, if you have any questions after, please let me know. But, so I'm going to go on.
Actually, if I can ask a couple of questions.
Sure.
So have we spent all of the hot funds for the past few years, or is there a balance?
There's a balance. I know right now currently we have about almost $98,000 in our checking account as of June, end of June.
And I know we're going to have a shortfall because of the agreement the council made before I came on about,
The one-time,
One-time
not the loan, but
Wait, on what now?
there was a one-time forgiveness of the hot funds. the
Oh,
hotel
yes,
funds.
the quarter, the 10,000.
Pay them back, right, because we've already received the money, so we have to pay them back.
And that's already been done.
It's already paid.
And it was just that one individual.
It was the first quarter, and the first quarter was,
He got his money.
he got his money back over $10,000.
Yeah.
And he's the main one that, of course, gives us the money. And then the second quarter was going to be less because they wouldn't even open. So you've got 2 quarters that we won't get anything from.
But that grant or loan, whatever you want to call it, was only for that one time, and that was it. So this other quarter that we get, whatever we get, we're not going to, let's set aside.
Starting in June, we would start picking
Yeah.
back up for this
Correct.
next quarter.
Well, I think that it would be really, really important to get them involved with it, anybody else that is paying into that fund. Maybe we set up a workshop with council and with those folks to sit down and figure out good ways, bring in the chamber, bring in CADC, and just figure out how we can, collaborate all of that together, get heads in beds. I think it's going to be really kind of...
Advertising is a big way to do it, of course. And of course, in this budget, there is an extra in here because I am part of a board now. I'm on the board of the Texas Heritage Trails. And they bring in people that, there's some different ways we have Passport. You go to all the different historical buildings and such throughout the state of Texas. And that brings people to the different cities in this, and Steinbach's on there. They come in, they get a stamp. At the end of it, they can turn it in and get a free night stay if they pull their name. And it's anywhere from here to Uvalde, up north, Texas. And they go all around it. It has people that get out and travel. It's a fun way to get them into your town. Of course, Landmark Inn is here.
I think that's a great way to do it. I feel like we should, because the whole idea is to get heads in beds, let's make sure that the beds are a part of that conversation to get heads in
Part
their
of it
beds.
is we have to look at, I guess, too, festivals, that type of thing, because and I advertise in the Houston magazines and different ones during the year to bring people in, especially the poppy season. They love it, and people now know that we have it. And so it's something, or even the Christmas, the old-fashioned Christmas, that type of thing, would be advertised in it ahead of time. You have to do it 2 or 3 months in advance, but it brings people. But the thing, advertising like that will work, but you have to have something to where they will come stay. And that's something that would have to, the 4th of July, that we did the very first one, that we had the big concert and the whole thing that we ever tried, that a lot of was able to be used for that because they advertised out. But yeah, it's not necessarily to focus on the local people in town. It's bringing people outside.
Last year, we also had a qualifying race for the Race Across America. And the cyclists were in Houston Square, but a lot of their families stayed in the hotels. And so,
and that's good.
yeah,
And someday we'll have more hotels, and that'll be even better. Because you'll have room.
Those are great draws, those kind of events. So.
And I think in this one too, you've got the 4th of July for advertisements and that type of thing is in here.
One of the biggest, I guess, increases here was the under repairs and maintenance. Went from 4,000 up to 15,000, and there's some work that needs to be done over at Steinbach House with the roof, right, Deborah?
We're looking at redoing the whole cap, which I already know about that. It's somewhere around 4,000. But also, we're looking at having to do the work on the wood and seal it, treat it, the windows, that type of thing. This maintenance hadn't been done on this house, I know, in probably a good 5-8 years, and so it's time.
That roof is antique tiles, though, isn't
Well, the
it?
problem is, we can't get over to Alsace to get more. And
Yeah.
at this time, it's kind of a temporary thing. I've got them in my floor.
Yeah.
It's almost like a Spanish tile type. And the man that's going to do it, he went to San Antonio, tried to find it. The Hannes Bricks will do it, but we have to provide a mold.
Okay.
We've debated on it. It's $5,000 to $6,000 for a mold plus. And so right now, we may go ahead and put that cap on it just across the top, and then come back and either, if someone happens to go to Alsace, see if they can ship us some, or get someone to make us a mold and then
You can
and then
send me,
redo
I'll
it.
go.
Pardon?
I'm
You
pretty
can send me,
sure,
I'll go.
I'm pretty sure the mold would cost less than the trip.
But you're only talking about,
We'll
Trust.
Not the whole room.
you're only talking about the cap.
cap.
Correct.
You have replacement tiles.
Yes, the tiles themselves, we have plenty. And we tried to find the cap, and it's just the
The
top.
ridge
It's not
cap.
down the side, right?
Right,
Because there's one
okay.
that goes down the side, we're not going to touch that.
That's a,
Have
So
we contacted people in Alsace? Because everybody knows everybody over there.
I have not. I don't know many. I know there was somebody that was going to go over there, and they was going to see if they could find anybody or see if they could get them back here in one piece. I don't know if they went because then COVID happened. So I don't know. But right now, this would be, I say temporary. It will work until we can get some. And so that was part of it. We haven't been able to get it done this year yet. That was what we were going to use the current budget for. And then, like I said, we're taking, I know Priscilla Garrett's been helping, and she's going over, showing the people. And we've had several different contractors go in and look at it for us, and we're trying to get the best bid. But, it's going to probably run around $8,000-9,000 possibly.
Can you,
And
is
so-
that something that you could do, is reach out and find somebody that could get a contact out there?
Yeah, you and I need to talk
Yeah.
afterwards, but if you have, we can get that over there.
What's that?
Get that
Contact
tile
over
and
there.
get it sent over there and get someone to buy the tile for us and ship it back. But.
We'll have to take it off the roof to get it there.
Right.
You
Well, I
know.
thought you said you had some on your floor.
Well, it's the one we're going to use, because there's one in there that the gentleman took with him, but it's not exactly the ridge, I guess, but we can. I mean, if we can find someone and see what it would run us, I don't know if it would cost us more to ship it, or, but,
We get the cone shipped over here all the time, that's about the same size.
Okay.
No problem.
okay, good.
excellent.
You're my resource then. Excellent. Because we'd love to have the regular. I mean, it'd
The
be
bulk of this
perfect.
budget increases the repairs on the home.
Great.
But Darren, I do agree with you. I think we definitely need to meet with the local, the hotel, all of them that are part of it, that contribute towards it, and kind of talk about, what we can do to improve, the marketing part of it, the tourism part. So I think using these guys that we have here, use it as a guide for us, because it tells us exactly what we can do with them. So,
I just think it's really, part of having a representative government is having it represent.
sure, right.
And so I think that's the great way to do that. We're doing the same thing. I know that council has been individually reaching out to folks in their districts and throughout the city for anything that we're looking at, any kind of improvements, any kind of new money that we're spending, to make sure that we're doing it responsibly and the way that
Sure.
the people that it affects want to do it. So I think that falls right in line, so I appreciate that.
Sure. The next one is the Alsatian House, so I'm going to let Deborah talk about this one, because I'm not too sure on some.
Well, this right here is what mainly, when Priscilla does her tours and takes people around, she does take donations, and this is the donations. We manage it for them. And at one time, there was the Alsatian, I guess, board, basically, and everybody kind of dissolved. And
Friends of the Steinbach.
thank you, I can remember. And so Priscilla is still maintaining, and this is what we get from the donation boxes, and then also her tours. And we keep it in here, and then part of it she may buy landscaping with it. She always brings it in to us, but she'll come in and talk to me, and she may do landscaping, or the tiles that came down, some of it may be the walkways and that type of thing. She tries to look at it. It may be that if it comes to very much expense on the house, we may use some of this if we don't have it in the budget to go towards it.
The pole barn at the Steinbach house, was paid for out of this
Right,
thing.
right.
How much is in this account now?
10,300.
Okay.
Because y'all had donated, there was a donation of what, 10,000 that y'all had put in for the pole barn?
When you say we have.
Well, I think that, was it the Castro Colonies that did it, or at one time?
Yeah,
For the
there's
pole
some-
barn?
Well, and some individuals. You're
Right, right,
There's some-
yeah. And it used to be in here.
Okay.
It's now finished, I hope, and so,
It's finished.
yes.
The next one is the Berry House, and so Deborah, you have to find two, because I'm not,
Well, Phil may be the
someone.
more knowledgeable on this. I want to say on part of this, on the communications and such, this is for, because the city, in the agreement on the lease, we provide the internet for the security, lawn care, insurance is provided for the content in the home. And this, on this side of it, we just, I want to say on the, possibly on the building and repairs, I think that's been spent because we had to take a tree down, I believe, here recently. And
Well,
so,
tree down.
yes, yes. So that's, you know, this is just kind of set aside in case we need anything other than they maintain it, the
Yeah,
Castroville
because all the
Colonies.
other repair expenditures are from the CCHA.
Right.
Yeah, last month, the tree between it
Mm-hmm.
and the Legion Hall had been taken down.
Mm-hmm.
And for that one, we have about $7,700 in that account right now. So,
700?
7,700, 7,700.
7,700.
Now, the tree, I think, was 1,000.
Why are they bank fees tied to, like the Berry
That's-
House?
What they charge, they charge us a small fee every month.
Huh.
Yeah.
Because it's not a credit union.
So, on that, you said we have about $7,000 in there? And what does that set aside for?
For the Berry House. For the Berry House.
Other income in there. That money showed up in there
Upkeep?
years ago.
Well, I know, well, let's see, was
20
it
years
the,
ago when they purchased the property. I think that was what was left over.
true, and I was trying, and I'm sorry, I might have to think about this, it may have been the Berry House. I know at one time there was a city council lady that donated her checks. And I couldn't remember, I'm not sure if it's the Steinbacher or if it was the Berry House. But I think it was the Berry House, and she donated her checks. It was Ms. McVeigh.
Nice.
Towards that to, you know, maintain it or whatever was needed at one point.
Yeah, so there's not a whole lot of income in that account. It's kind of
No.
almost dormant for a bit like
Right.
utilities and things like
Right.
that, which the city, so.
And the tree,
there's
I mean, you know,
no-
something comes up.
Yeah, and the idea is the agreement with CCHA is that the city, all the expenses to building and everything has to be by CCHA and not the city.
Mhm.
But at the next council meeting, not tonight, but next time, we're gonna bring a construction contract that the city, the idea is if city council agrees, there will be some non-funding type services like putting in the building pad, digging the stuff they do in-house, and we do, public works can do all of that.
In kind.
But that still wouldn't come out of this account.
And I think that we have a couple of accounts, as we've been looking through some of this, we've got some accounts, I think the Library Memorial Fund was one of them. If we're keeping it in there specifically because we're, waiting on emergencies, if you've got to have some kind of a buffer balance in there, I think that's very prudent. If it's just sitting in there because it's just sitting in there, I think that we need to take a look at that. And if somebody's especially a Memorial Fund, if they're putting that in there, they want to have it spent on something specific. So let's figure out what that needed to be spent on and do some benefit.
Are
Yeah,
they
for
planning
that one
some work?
alone, we have $2,000 in that account, and we haven't used that account. It's been, I don't know, the last time we ever used it.
Right.
But again, that's probably a donation that they contributed, and it's just been there ever since.
And I think we need to look back and see why it was initially contributed, what it
Okay.
needs to go to, and spend it on that. If it's been sitting in there for years, then that's years of benefit that the library's not getting. And personally, if I leave something in a memorial fund, I want them to spend it.
I know, and that may be something that Angela can answer, because I know they do flags for people that come in, depending on who it is and what they're requesting. And it may be that some people just donate it and say, use it for whatever necessary, if it's outside a bench or tree or something, I don't know.
With regards to the Berry House, Phil, you might know if there is future plans for doing any work on the log cabin.
Yes, and I'll give you all a presentation at the next council meeting, but
Okay.
it has been taken down and stored. And right now, we're going to purchase replacement cypress logs from Louisiana and then use those that can be salvaged. They were all used when they were taken down,
Yeah.
but that's supposed to occur before the end of the year.
So there's some coming expenditures, so.
Yeah, except those won't be the city because those will, by licensing agreement, those all come from CCHA. Now, the
Okay.
city, like this $1,000, you know, you think, well, $7,000 in the account, well, that's just 7 years of paying under the internet because they're paying for the internet out of that. So
Right.
That's for security.
so
and
that
such.
money, but that's not a memorial, that was money that was,
I just knew that there were projects going on, going forward at Beery House, so.
so it's going to be about $500,000, but that licensing agreement.
Let's not put that in this budget.
CCHA is doing that.
The next one is, okay, the Library Memorial Fund. Let's talk about that. After that is the DEA Forfeiture Fund. So,
Don't know if there's anything left in there.
what?
Is there anything left in there?
Right now, we have, in that account, we have like $900 in that account. So Chief, do you think you can talk about, right quick, the DEA Forfeiture Fund? What's that used for?
We can use it for salaries, for tools, equipment, that
Okay.
kind of stuff.
Okay. Again, this one, we haven't used it, and, I mean, we have a little over $900 in that account right now, so
Training,
it's just, it's there.
yeah.
So,
So, to me, like these funds, take it to zero, because that way you save the $50.
well, in some of these accounts, I know that by law, we have to have,
A separate account for
and
it.
so, and I think this may be one of them, if I'm,
Yeah.
right, we really, I mean, we can't do away with the account, we have to leave it there. And so that's why we're kind of stuck with some of these that really.
Take it down to $100 and slide 800 over to Chief. I'm sure he can use it on something.
Well,
Now,
You have to
careful
document it.
what we spend. This has to go to the.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's not talking cash across the table.
No.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the same thing with the library
Yeah.
fund, is this, but if you think there's a couple $1,000s in there,
Yes, sir.
to me, it's budgeted all and use it to buy books or something, I mean, you know. that-
I guess we want to go back and look at whatever that donation,
rules.
what
Exactly.
it said, I want you to use it for this, this, and that, and if there wasn't any, then, yeah, I mean.
In fact, I think they were asking for the picnic tables and the picnic tables, so that would be a great thing to use that fund for.
Yeah.
If that was allowable under
Yeah.
the donation, yeah.
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 Yeah, whatever the rules are, you know.
If it comes from a specific donor, put their name
Yeah.
on the picnic table, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true, too. That'd be good. The next one, right quick, is, Chief, again, the Police Department Training Fund.
That's where you owe some money, that's strictly for training. The state gives us so much money every year for training. Of course, this year was kind of poo-poo with the COVID, so.
So-
We'll be spending a lot of training next year, and I don't like that.
How much is there in that fund? Just $1,000? Okay.
The next one, this is the Court Building Security Fund. And I know Deborah, do you mind talking about that one? That's court.
right, there's a couple of funds here. There's court security, and I said, there's also a court technology, and those are driven from the tickets you can take out. There's a certain amount you can take off the ticket that we receive for this. And depending on, this is the fund, I think I told y'all the other night, that we were trying to look at possibly getting a new module from the Encode to be able to marry, I guess, the police vehicles, to be able to see warrants and that type of thing. We haven't gotten a quote back yet, but I believe we can use it out of this fund because it is the court and the police together.
And what was that
so-
cost again?
Well, I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
MCOT
'cause
has
you
not
haven't
given
gotten
us.
the quote that you just said.
So one
We're
of the things that-
guesstimating about maybe 2,000,
Well, that's fine.
something like that. And so I think, and we have plenty in here.
Right now,
that we can use
one of the
up.
things that we used it not too long ago was we bought the wands for court, so we can certainly, that's part of security. We have about $35,000 sitting in this account as of right now. For every, I guess, ticket that is written and that's paid for in full, $3 goes towards this fund here.
Took a long
So,
time to get that.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
and there's only certain things you can use it for.
Right.
The ADT security system here is paid for out of that. I know, depending on, like I said, not sure if they helped, if this helped by, I know at one point, I believe it was when the former chief, Feline, came in, they spent quite a bit out of that, and I don't remember if it was for the iPads or whatever that went in the cars. I'm not sure, but he was able to buy some equipment, and it's taken a while to build it back up. And the judge is kind of over this too. When we want to try to do something, if it's a larger purchase, we talk with him about it because he kind of manages it also since he's part of the court.
So again, this is one that we have to have by law, that we can only use it for certain things. The next one is something similar to that. It's the court technology fee fund, and we have about 14,000 in that account as of right now. And for every, I guess, ticket that's written, $4 goes towards this account here. So,
And we are looking to maybe buy a laptop out of this because we do have, sometimes Terry from over the PD comes over and we need an extra laptop in case, also in the court budget, we have in there a little bit of money for a part-time person or a student. Last year we had a student for a very short time to where they could use that in the court office when they're not in here. So that would be where we could take it out of this fund to be able to purchase one and the software to go with it.
And what is the software that's on here, the extra $1,000?
Pardon?
The software that's on there? It's an extra
It would be
$1,000?
Encode.
Oh,
It would be the
gotcha.
Encode system that we have here.
Okay.
I don't know that it's showing on that though yet, correct? The
Correct.
laptop and all?
no, not yet.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah, so,
That's pretty much it in a nutshell for all the special revenue funds. The next thing is just a 5-year historical that I really won't go over because you have a copy of that. But
They were going back, I noticed you're putting your bank, $50 bank fees, those are all now, where past they weren't budgeted. So you all have, those are all being paid under something else.
well, they're getting paid out under this account as an example. So it's whatever fee that we have charged. I don't have that. I didn't print out
Back
that.
up your slide. Or actually, that one right there, bank fees. So see, you didn't have anything approved in 2020, nothing approved.
On some of
in
the, so on some of these, just because I want to make sure that, not saying we're going to get charged, but if we ever do get charged, there's a small portion allocated towards that. More than likely, we're not even going to use it. But because if we need it in the future, we don't have it budgeted, we got to come back to the council and say, hey, can we go ahead
So
and do
they
this?
normally don't charge them.
On some of these, they
Right.
do. It depends if it's like an interest-bearing account or not, and it depends on what you have as your balance. And it's a very small portion that they would charge us monthly. But I did it flat $50 across just because I saw that was the trend that they were charging us for the entire. Not even, it was like $30-something, but I just allocated $50 for that. So
Understand.
And how many total accounts that are
we have probably over about 25 bank accounts. I mean, I think somebody else saw those when I signed each one of those.
Yep.
Those forms. It's a lot. And if we can try and condense some of these or close some of these down legally, not the ones that we have to have, but some of these that we maybe can get rid of, then yeah, I say let's try and do that because
That's a little bit of money.
it is.
I mean, it's not.
Who do we bank with, Castroville?
Castro State
State
Bank.
Bank.
Do we go out for bids for something like that?
We
I don't
do,
know when the
we
law-
do.
yeah.
Their contract is every 5 years,
Every 5?
and we can, yes. And it's probably another couple of years before we do go out. And
They asked for
years, very years, along forever.
Oh, really?
They were the low bidders last year, so they bid it out.
They were a little bitter?
They were a low bidder. But I think they liked the fact that they were after those.
Bitter sometimes better?
So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. The only one that we're missing from the general fund is the IT budget. Then after that, it would be the utility fund, which is John. He's anxiously waiting to present, so he can't wait to do that. And then, so along that, so I know right now on the budget calendar, we have it set for sometime next week. And so is there any way that we could possibly move it to the week after the week of the city council meeting? Perhaps we can do it on that city council day, if y'all are okay with that. Or,
How long do you anticipate?
30 minutes, right? No, probably a couple of hours.
Start about 2? Are y'all available
About
about 2?
2 to 3 hours max. I mean, I don't think 3 hours, but I think at least a couple hours.
So we're looking at the 11th of August?
Yes, ma'am.
What day of the week is that,
It's a
Tuesday?
Tuesday.
That's our regular council meeting day.
That's 2 weeks from today?
Yep.
We're trying to cut back on the number of meetings. I mean, I know every week you've been having one. Thought maybe have it on the city
I
council
don't
meeting
know
day.
how available I'll be next week, so I would side for 2 weeks from now.
Okay. Are y'all okay with
Are y'all
that?
ready?
I got,
Yeah, I'm good with
I'm
that.
right in the middle of harvest.
Yep.
2 o'clock? Is that good for y'all?
We'll-
Well, 2 is 3 hours.
Well, we'll feed y'all, I mean, there'll be a break in between, so, I mean, give y'all some time to just relax before the actual meeting for next week, or the week
I
after.
don't like these people.
Yes, you do.
So,
So the only thing
At
we're
least
talking
he's
about
honest.
yeah,
The utility fund and the IT deal.
the IT, utility, and the debt service, but that's a small one, so we can do that. I mean, we're gonna have another, because the next thing we're gonna have is a set meeting for the public hearings for the tax rate. And so during that time, we can probably fit in the debt service, which is very small, so.
Well, somewhere you need to tell us the money coming in.
Oh, no, so we just got our certified values Friday night.
Right.
And so I'm working with the tax office on the actual proposal for the tax rates, and bring that to y'all. So then I know exactly where we're at as far as revenue. I kind of presented revenue at our first budget workshop, but now that's going to change based on our certified values increasing, which is a good thing. So I'll make sure that we do bring that. I mean, we're going to have a discussion about that too.
So that won't be at the next one, that'll be the one after.
Correct. Yes, sir.
So right now, the 11th is good, assuming I don't have a legal deal. I was told today that more likely not that's going away, so
Okay.
I should be okay on the 11th, but I may have to come back to you and say, uh-oh, they.
Okay.
And before it's all said and done, you'll end up having a full draft budget to where you can always tweak it. if
Oh,
you
yeah,
want to.
absolutely. Yeah.
And I should have some numbers for you if you need, as far as the IT things that we're looking at too, at that time.
And this budget workshop was the 3rd or the 4th?
Fourth.
So the next one will be the 5th. And you said 2 o'clock.
If we can, 1, 2 o'clock, whichever, that way give plenty of time, we can take a break and
Whatever you
I
don't
can
want, either
retape
time's
and-
good with me.
set my batteries up.
I'd rather go 2 o'clock than 1 o'clock.
Okay.
Let's shoot for 2, if that's okay.
If something changes, we've got plenty of time.
All right.
We can always
What,
push the council meeting back to 6, so.
No,
Deborah wants to go home.
I like the 5 o'clock we're supposed to talk about.
Okay.
So something else, if we could, I think it'd be smart to look at, as a part of that one, if we can fit it in. If you can't, don't worry about it. This is our core goal here, but also look at water rights, water usage. Because that, if you think about it, that is an asset that has demands on it and cost associated with it. So let's take a look at where we are with that as a part of the utility, as the consumer of that.
Yeah, yes, sir.
All right, thanks.
All right, that's all I have.
What else?
So any other questions before we conclude this portion of the budget workshop?
Thank you.
Nope, thank y'all so much for it. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Okay, so it is, at 4:34, and we're adjourned. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move adjourned.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.